county or Works and Public Safety meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I look for a motion to, or is there anything that needs to be added to the agenda or taken off? If not, I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hay,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Ledlow. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Public comment. Anyone for public comment? Okay, moving on. There was no one online for public comment. Moving on, Janelle, help the update on your child care fund report.
Good afternoon. For September 2024, we had revenue totaling $36,446.66. Expenditures amounting to $62,732.83, leaving us with a cash balance of $141,963.79. We are currently 5 months behind in reimbursement from the state. I roughly calculated revenue due right under $200,000 between child care fund and basic grant. I did have a conversation with the treasurer regarding next year's allocation. I assume she relayed that information to the board. I did receive information and we may have to talk about this because I don't know if I'm gonna apply for a grant through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. This reads like it has to be a county grant, but it's for a juvenile diversion program run through the child care fund. So I don't know how that application process works through eGrams, if the county has to be the applicant, but I would be the person who has all the information and needs to submit it. So if I would seek approval from this board,
If it's a county grant, yeah,
and then how does that application process work?
you'd still have access to go in and do all the filling and paperwork out and all that good stuff.
No, so I still have to do all that.
And I,
It still may be something I want to pursue. I'm participating in a webinar tomorrow on it. And it's pre-arrest diversion program that we're forced to develop anyway. And if the state will give us $75,000 first year to get it off the ground, I think it's foolish not to ask for the money. So I'd
we
probably
5 months later, or would we?
probably 6 months. It's another reimbursement. You have to
A reimbursement
spend it
grant?
first.
We love.
Yes. And it's still, I mean, 141,000, we're still above water in the childcare.
So what did you say that you have an expectation to get about 200,000 from the state?
I'm due reimbursement right now, just under 200,000. I'm due for June, July, August, and I submitted my September reimbursement. And between basic grant and other obligations, it's just under $200,000 in reimbursement that we're due. Childcare fund is due.
So normally I know they're kind of a little behind. Is it normally this far behind, 5, 6 months?
Well, this was kind of one of those perfect storm things that happened in that Judge Black's, they were already behind, and Judge Black has to approve all my submissions. And Judge Black's user ID timed out or whatever, and the state decided he had to start at the very beginning. So he had to do some training, he had to get a bunch of stuff, get access, and then it took them approximately 5 weeks after he had done everything he was supposed to do in 2 or 3 days, because he's fantastic like that. It took them 5 to 6 weeks to actually reactivate him. So he was reactivated and then we were able to get everything sorted out. So it was kind of somewhat their fault, somewhat my fault. It's my responsibility to track his re-ups and I missed it. So it was both counties, but it's not unusual 3-4 months for us to be behind
Okay.
the child care fund. And they never distribute the money at the same time every month. Sometimes we get it on the 18th. Sometimes we get it on the 27th. Sometimes they don't even write child care fund on it. Kim sends out an email or something.
We're like, surprise.
So should we get one lump, which are behind, or will they?
Probably not.
Just kind of one.
It'll show up and then we get to figure out where it goes. Yeah.
And they mark it different every month it comes in. It never has this, it's always childcare fund reimbursement from X month, and basic grant reimbursement. But they mark it, it depends on whoever processes it at the state level, what they did, what day they do it and what they write in there.
Okay,
Generally, it's 1 month at a time, but sometimes we will get 2 and 3 months within 1 month period if they're playing catch up. Doesn't happen real often, but it does happen.
okay. Okay, any other great news or good news in your section?
No, I mean, I feel like we're in good shape for the shape we're in. 75% reimbursement made a big difference this year. The 10% on cost allocation is helpful, that we're getting 85 cents back on the dollar, I think is, phenomenal. And I'm opening it up to community partners. What are we doing? How do we do it? We're forced to expand services this year. Next year's budget's gonna look a whole lot different than this year's, and that's really by statute. So we are working with all kinds of agencies to try and support children, youth, and families in the county. So if you see anything, you get an email, I tell everybody, anything you think it relates to juvenile justice or could be helpful to kids on probation or in foster care, forward it to me. We're always looking to expand services and we're required to expand them for next year, so.
Okay. I guess then I'd look for a motion to receive and file Bell's report.
Make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner LaHaye, second by Commissioner Bray. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Rob.
Good afternoon. As a condition of the ambulance service agreement amendment 1, section 6I, the cost of the annual maintenance of light pack cardiac monitors and Stryker power load cot lift system in each ambulance shall be reimbursed by the county up to a cap of $31,000 a year. This annual service was conducted by the Stryker service team on August 6, 2024, with several adjustments, upgrades, repairs made to the related equipment, all of which were covered under the service agreement and at no additional cost to the city or all the Stryker power load cot lift systems, each of the light pack cardiac monitors are now fully operational, the current factory recommendations. Several of those, just so you know, were needing upgrades. So they were behind as far as some of the technology that was offered through LightPack, as well as the Stryker power load cot lift systems. Service is one controllable factor to reducing exposure and liability due to failure of one of these components in patient care due to improper maintenance or needed upgrades. With this now completed, I've attached a copy of the invoice for this service to the Alpena Fire Department in the amount of $30,999.20 and request approval for reimbursement to the city of Alpena by Alpena County. I do have a copy of the check too. I believe you needed a copy of the canceled check.
We have that as well.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and Anna sent it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So the only problem is, guys, this was signed, the new agreement on 12/27/23 and was not put in your 24 budget. So you have no,
County administrator didn't do your job, Jesse?
you have no money budgeted to put this in. So the line item, it's in your 25 budget, what I've put together. I mean, what I can. You guys need to look at your 25 budget. It is your guys' responsibility to put that together, not the county treasurer.
Yeah, we were talking, Kim and I were talking before. So what's happened, just so you guys are aware, that at one point, we used to have an ambulance committee and then county administrator consolidated a lot of the different committees to cut down on the meetings that we had. So our court and public safety encompasses animal control, ambulance committee, and some of the stuff that we weren't really, kind of, I guess, if you will, we've lost the attention that we were getting before when we had the individual meetings. So now it's kind of like we come, to this meeting, we clump everything together and we haven't focused on what the budget will be. So I think I was just talking to Jesse, we're gonna add that probably in the next meeting.
Yeah.
And then we'll get the budget together. So I was just like off the step from Kim. Did you want?
I can hand this out, but the thing is, your next this next meeting is when, November 18th? So that means
Oh, yeah, well, we may, actually, by then we'll have to have,
you're gonna have to
Budget
have some
approved.
kind of a budget in,
yeah.
depending on what you guys are doing, because the board can't approve a budget if you don't have it
So,
in.
so I guess what I'll do, and
And if you
unless,
don't have a budget approved, you can't spend any money.
so if you guys, one of you guys want to meet sometime, or I don't know how you want to do it, if we don't need to all meet, we can go over with Jesse and talk. Basically, we're going to probably put together a budget based on what we've done in the past and what some of the expectations of the costs that we know. So I don't know if someone wants to do that, and we can meet with Jesse.
I'll meet with Jesse.
Okay. So we'll just figure out a date to do that, and then,
But I have a question.
sure.
When you talk about a new budget, where are you taking it from, or is, or?
So this money,
Okay, so the ambulance fund has a completely standalone millage, just like youth and rec and older persons.
Yeah.
So, and previously, we had an ambulance committee, just like we have a youth and rec committee and we have a older persons committee. Those committees set the budgets. Those committees signed off on the bills to be paid, or the county treasurer could sign off if it was budgeted. So in the transition, we lost an ambulance committee, so either the ambulance committee or the courts and public safety committee needs to be responsible for putting a budget together. What I have given you, where I've put together where it says a board recommended 25 budget, is my best guess from what I've been able to pick up pieces here and there. And I'm also aware that you were still negotiating the contract with the city, which was causing us a delay. But you have to have some kind of a budget. If you have no budget, then you can't spend any money until a budget's put in place.
So the ambulance portion will come out of ambulance and
Yeah.
we'll redo
Yes, it's all,
down, okay?
yep. So, and that's the disconnect we've had. On the last agreement that I seen that's not complete, had the, call it. Yeah, gonna find it real quick. It had the service agreement for the Life Pack and Stryker in this. So I've tentatively put this in here so you guys have something to work with. But again, it was never put in the 24 budget. Do I have a line item?
so, and just so, again, you guys are aware, what happened was we had a contract with city that was a 4-year contract. Technically, this year was supposed to be the last year of that 4-year contract.
So it was 5 years.
No, 4 years.
That contract was in line with
Yep.
the levy. It was a 4-year. Yes.
So Mary Catherine kind of organized a new contract with the city manager and Rob. And I guess the board approved it back in January, or was that?
No, Kim got it together for us. This was board action number 15. It was on December 27th, 2023.
We approved, the Board of Commissioners reapproved. I did.
A 1-year.
Actually, it was.
1 year.
and
A 1-year amendment. Originally,
Adjustments because the original one was for 978,000, the contract, and then there were some things that you added in. And so either way, so we adjusted the last year of the contract. So when they did that, those additional cost, expenses, whatever, didn't get line items funded for those items.
But you guys do have money in the contingency
Yeah.
for the ambulance.
that doesn't matter.
Okay.
The thing is, if it's not budgeted, my job as the treasurer for the county is I'm not allowed to sign a check unless there's money budgeted to be spent.
Correct.
Sure. I guess.
So,
So we did, because it wasn't approved, or it was approved, because it wasn't budgeted for, now he's coming to us asking, because Kim can't pay it unless we actually approve that.
But is this amendment to the original contract that expired in 23 or does?
no,
No.
this amendment, this contract It expired in 24.
So it would have expired at the end of this year.
So what happens now? Is there a new contract?
Yeah, we're actually working on that.
That's gonna come before full board on the 12th November.
And that's why I said, I'm doing the best I can to put together some kind of a best guess budget, best guess
I
budget.
Yeah.
Right. But being the agreement's not done.
Yeah.
So this is something the parks, or not Parks and Rec, sorry, the Courts and Public Committee needs to be aware of. Once you guys do have that final agreement, you're going to need to adjust your ambulance budget.
So we can't blame this one on Jesse. No, we'd
No,
like to.
No.
Done.
But so moving forward, what we'll do is, I don't know how we do that, if we put it on like September, or whatever timeframe, like Courts and Public Safety, that we start working on the budget for the ambulance specifically with this committee or whoever, however we want to do that. But either way, there is a contract, an amendment to the contract with this line item approved. So we just need to, so do you have to create a new line then for this?
Yes, I can give you the line item number and then you need to approve
Okay, so.
budget adjustment.
So Kim's ready with her pen, and she's gonna take that down. So if you want to read the line item and then
Yep.
get that into the motion.
It's line item 210-651-820.000. And the name of it is Service Agreement Life Pack / Striker.
Okay. So now we got the line item, and I guess because it was already approved, it has been approved with the amendment. We're just looking for an action to, a motion to approve this $30,000 with that,
To do the budget adjustment.
with that line item she just said.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so we got a motion by Commissioner LaHaye. Second. Support by Commissioner Ludlow. Any further discussion on that? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay. You're good.
Kim, one thing that we've done too, as part of the discussion, we have put together basically a strategic plan for the series of the next contract as we go into it. Trying to outline some of those things, so it helps you guys plan. Sure. Put it in all expenses, hopefully.
Yeah, I've seen some of that, but again, the treasure's at the bottom of this hill.
One more up.
If they don't put those pieces in place and we get down to the bottom of the hill, we can't go any further.
Right, and that's, I just wanted you to know that hopefully we do that with the contract discussions.
Yep.
Is to have that put together, so you guys know over the life of the millage.
Kim's not too worried after probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she's tiring, right?
You know, she got to the end of this year and that's when she stopped. She's like, that was good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next up, Bill, MAC Administrator.
Good afternoon, folks. Bill Pfeiffer. I'm appearing on behalf of MIDC. MIDC is the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission for our members that may not be familiar with it. Michigan Indigent Defense Commission was created about 10 years ago, and its purpose was to increase the level of qualifications for court-appointed defense attorneys for misdemeanor and felony offenses. So they've passed a series of standards. It's taken a little longer than anticipated, but primarily what they've done for the county is they pay the overwhelming majority of the cost now that it costs to provide that service. And so the way it works is the county applies for a grant. The grant is generally approved, sometimes with modification. But as part of that process, the county has a county share. The county share was initially established back in 2017, and it originally established, I think it was in right around 159,000. And that was based on the amount of monies that had been spent back in, I want to say 2010, 11, and 12, or it could have been 11, 12, and 13. And that has went up slightly each year. This year, and this year being FY 25, which started October 1st of this year. The county's contribution is $164,640.01. That is the same contribution as last year. So there is no additional monies being requested from the county this year. The budget amounts have changed, and I'll explain a couple of reasons why those amounts have changed, but the amount that's requested of the county for purposes of this grant and providing the service is the same as last year. So that doesn't happen very often. And so at least from a budgeting standpoint, you guys won't have to come up with any more money to run this. Just some other quick updates. MIDC has passed standards 6 and 7. Standards 6 and 7 relate to qualifications of the attorneys themselves and tracking by the grant manager, which is what my position is, and the tracking meeting, making sure that the people that are assigned the cases actually have the qualifications to take those cases on in terms of the number of trials they've had, the number of jury trials, the number of years that they've been practicing, things of that nature. There's also standard 7 that's been approved as well. That standard requires the local system to evaluate each of its attorneys that are doing the work. And that'll be a combination of the judges, the prosecutors, the probation officers, anybody else in the court system who has a chance to review and see whether those people are properly prepared and doing their job the way they're supposed to do it. And one new thing that's also going to start is there are going to be some client surveys as well. And so the clients are going to be randomly selected to hopefully, when the case is over, to give their opinion as to whether they think the attorney was qualified for the case, whether they feel like they were treated fairly, whether they feel like they're properly represented in the sense that their phone calls were answered, they were able to meet with the attorney prior to court with a sufficient amount of time to make decisions about what they wanted to do with their case. And so it's really a quality control measure. The other thing that's changed this year is that the minimum amounts paid pursuant to Standard 8 have increased slightly, and that has increased our grant amount slightly, but our grant this year is actually less than last year for another reason. I'll explain that in just a minute. But so the rates have been $120, $130, and $150. Those represent misdemeanor, felony, and high severity felony cases. They've changed now to $125, $140, and $155. So the hourly fee that the attorneys will be paid has went up essentially $5 an hour. In terms of budgeting itself, I have only made 4 copies. And so I can hand these to you, Mr. Lahey, and have you send them around. That is our third quarter report that has been approved by the state. And this is for the period of 2024 through June 30th of 2024. The total budget last year, including the county portion, was $1,351,511.04. Through June 30th, we had spent $786,255.86. So we were right at about 60%. The reason that we're a little under the grant is there was a large amount of monies put in last year for the double homicide case in terms of quite a bit of money for experts and investigators. And on the public defender's side, their client ended up reaching an agreement with the prosecutor's office. And so that case did not go to trial. So it saved a considerable sum of not only attorney fees, but also the expert and investigator fees. And then on the other side, on the private side, the other individual, although his team spent a little chunk of money for having some investigators and experts look at things, they didn't call any experts or investigators during the trial. So there was significant savings as well. So the $1,321,000 is actually decreased this year because we won't have that large amount of money. And so the total grant amount this year is $1,156,945.92. So it's decreased by about 44, 54, 64, about $165,000. Now, the way this grant works is at the end of the year, which we'll be doing our final report that's due at the end of October. We usually, fourth quarter spending is usually the highest because that's usually when the attorneys finally get all their bills together and get them sent in. And so historically, we've always had a larger expenditure in the fourth quarter. But we're not going to expend anywhere near the amount of the budget. With that being said, the way the grant works is those monies carry over into the next grant year. So they're not extra monies. They're not anything that is retained by the county. If you only spend 80%, then that other 20% that you didn't spend just rolls into next year. And in the third quarter of next year, they'll take that chunk back out. So we'll get a smaller chunk. They'll account for that. So regarding the Public Defender's Office, there's been some changes. They do have an intern that had been working throughout the summer who has just passed her bar examination and is going to be sworn in by Judge Black on Friday afternoon. And so they will have a fifth full-time staff attorney. And I know they're excited over there about that. And I know she's excited to get up and running as well. They also, in this year's budget, asked for monies to try to hire a full-time investigator. So they're in the process of trying to do that. And now they don't have one yet. But effective October 1, they were granted that authority to go out and try to hire one.
I just have a question on that. So who would approve that? Because it sounded, and I know over the years, one of the biggest issues has been that all the money is kind of it's benefiting the individuals that can't afford to hire the attorneys. And since we've got a public defender's office, that's more for them because then they don't have to pay the attorneys. So with this investigator, does the MIDC then cover that?
They do. It comes out of that, the county contracts with the Public Defender Office for the monthly amount. And that monthly amount covers that investigator as well.
And I know over the years, we've always heard the complaint from the prosecuting attorney's office that we're getting all this money that's going to the public defenders, the MIDC, to cover all these indigent defense individuals. But then we don't have any money really other than what the county can come up with. And I know one of our issues is that just trying to maintain the prosecuting attorneys within that department. I guess, and I know Judge Black would always come, and when you indicated, I worked with you back when this first happened. I remember the first four, I can't remember, what are they, the first four?
For standards.
Standards, yeah, that we had to adhere to. And I remember saying that, I don't know how the state is going to fund this. They said, oh yeah, we'll fund it for the first, plan to fund it for the first couple of years. Here we are 8 years later and they're still funding it. But I guess we keep going back to, this is great for the defendants because all this money is going towards the public defender's office, the indigent defense. But then we hear constantly from the prosecuting attorney's office that they can't even maintain a level of attorneys to just handle the normal cases that they don't have. How is this impacting other communities, and especially the prosecuting attorney's office and counties where they're having to figure out how to fund the prosecuting attorney's office?
Yeah, it's been difficult for the prosecuting attorneys. And really what the state is telling them, because the organization called PAM, which stands for the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan, has really lobbied and tried to get the state to, give funding to them consistent with MIDC. MIDC quite amazingly has continued to get many millions of dollars more each year. There's talk amongst the defense bar that at some point in time that the state's got to quit paying for all these things, or they're going to start trying to put it off onto the counties because they've continued to increase that budget every year. And I remember, as you say, John, when we first started planning for this, it was more like this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
They're really not going to give all this money. And then all of a sudden they gave it. And then we were scrambling around to figure out how the heck we were going to do this and who was going to do it and who was going to be responsible for it. So a lot of criticism of MIDC. What's become apparent is that prosecuting attorneys' offices, because they're not to offer competitive pay to entry-level positions in public defenders' offices right now, are really having a hard time filling their entry-level positions. They're also having a hard time keeping their mid-level employees, their chief assistants, for the same reason, as they just can't pay what the public defender offices are paying. And that, I don't know if that's going to get fixed anytime soon. I don't know if, a change in state leadership from one party to the other, if that occurs, if that's going to have some effect on slowing down the spending that MIDC is getting. But I can't tell you the exact total right off the top of my head that they got this year, but they're getting significantly more again this year. And these numbers just keep increasing. And so are certainly a concern. I think you might recall that I shared that same concern at that time. I know Judge Black was very concerned because he was, I think his concern is a valid one and is accurate. And that is, how are we going to get people to take jobs at the prosecutor's office when we're paying them substantially less than what we're paying these new public defenders? And with no sight, nothing in the future that looks like they're going to be able to keep pace. So it's a problem. I don't know if it's going to get fixed. I know Cynthia's currently down a prosecutor or at least trying to fill. I'm not sure. I thought the full board had indicated that it would let her fill that position. I'm not 100% sure of that.
I think she's filling it as a contract right now.
She has a contract with the current individual. The problem is trying to find somebody to take that position for the rate that person who's leaving that office was working.
Yeah, so it's a real problem. It's not a problem that's just local to us. It's a problem that's going on all over the state. And there are constant letters being written to the House and Senate to try to get the representatives and senators to recognize that it's really, the idea MIDC to level the playing field made sense initially.
Yeah.
Now it's
Majorly lopsided.
Yeah, now it's kind of swung the other way.
Especially with funding that. I know you indicated, and I don't know how we were doing it before, but, our portion is the 164,000, which is great. But, I know we've talked about this in the past that, what happens, and my whole concern was what happens when we get to that point where the state says, we're no longer giving you this money, and we've got just close up the way because we can't afford the $600,000 or more for the public defender's office.
Yeah, we were in 2014, 15, 16, we were in the range of about $260,000 that we were paying. I was part of that contract. In that it covered everything.
Yeah.
So we had to take all the cases, all the conflict cases. Well, now we're talking about a public defender budget that between Alpena County's share, which is in the almost 900,000, and then about 300,000 from Mount Morency and 300,000 from Oscoda. They're at a $1.5 million budget.
Yeah.
On work that was performed by 3 individual attorneys plus somebody helping out occasionally for about 400,000 total between the 3 counties. So it has drastically increased. And I'm not sure how long they can sustain that.
And then you figure that all the other counties are in the same boat.
Now, they are really pushing the public defender offices. The reason they're pushing those is because at least you have, those are salary positions and, they don't get any more than that. But for the conflict counsel, you know, you're getting paid hourly now. And so if you're to spend 60 hours, you're getting paid for 60 hours. Past, you were getting just a chunk and that had to, you had to cover all the cases. So it's really helped the private attorneys, you know, increase. In fact, you know, the amount of money you make on these now is commensurate with being hired as private counsel. And so is what it's also done is it's attracted more attorneys back to doing court-appointed work that weren't doing it before because they weren't getting, you know, they were getting maybe $60 an hour on average. Now they're getting 140, 150 bucks on average. So certainly increased that, but it's a concern that's shared by many folks in the criminal justice system, judges, prosecutors. I think defense attorneys that are impartial and independent and actually look at it. I think, you know, most of us realize that, yeah, it's really swung the other way. And how long it's going to swing, I don't know. You know, only time will tell. So I don't know if it'll continue like this. I don't see how it can. I mean, the state's got its own budget woes and money, you know, there's only so much money to spread around, but MIDC certainly has, they certainly have the support of the legislature, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon.
Okay. Yeah, there's nothing I guess we can do. I mean, I know we've probably said this for the last 8 years or so. When is this going to end? Because, and like you said, $900,000 for just Alpena County is quite a significant increase. And I don't know how, moving forward, if the state walked away, how we would be able to cover that.
Yeah, I don't think we could. It's not even realistic to think that we would be able to come, you know, to the county and say, hey, guys, can you come up with $660,000 this year? It's just not going to happen. So it'll be interesting in what happens statewide if this dries up. But it's most likely got to dry up at least, you know, no additional increases at some point. So, but I think it's a problem that we're going to face somewhere down the road, whether that be, you know, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you guys got the gist of it?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I'd look for.
So are you required to do this? No, just kidding.
Well, here's the rub is how it works. So the county is not required to contract with the state to do this. So you guys don't have to do that. However, if you don't do it, then you don't get any money from the state. But you could go back to the old system and say, we're not going to, you know, we don't want to be a part of this anymore. None of the counties have done that yet.
Then you'd be accused of taking away legal representation for people who can't afford it.
What would probably happen is, so you would go back to, you know, whether you can get the same group of individuals that were willing to do it for 400,000, you're going to find them now that, I mean, I'm part of that group. So, I mean, I know I'm making more than I was making before. So it would be hard for me to come back and say, I would commit myself to making a good deal less.
And the bottom line is because we're getting money from the state, it's not, why would we not take it?
Oh, yeah, I know.
I mean, there, like Bill said, that we're not required to do it, but to go back to what we were doing before, one would probably cost us more, definitely more.
Yes.
And I don't know, like he said, because I think at the time when we were looking at this, you kind of, your firm was kind of like wanting to get out of it.
Right.
And because of what the compensation was.
Yeah, I was getting to the point where it just couldn't be done anymore. I mean, well, I don't want to say it couldn't be done. What was really starting to eat into it was with the conflicts and trying to represent everybody all at once. It just was, it was starting to put the attorneys into a position where they may be committing legal malpractice because they didn't have enough time and enough attorneys to cover all the cases efficiently. And so, you know, it was kind of at its breaking point where I can't say this with certainty, but certainly there were discussions about, well, then let's just give it back to the county and let them deal with it. It's going to be their problem. And it was kind of you know, the sense was, well, we know there's not people there that are going to do it. I think we enjoyed doing the work, even though didn't always enjoy the pay, but enjoyed the work. And so we continue to continue to do it, even though, you know, we thought we weren't paid enough. I mean, from an attorney standpoint, all attorneys think they're not getting paid enough. So not to beat up on myself, but attorneys always think they should get more. But it really was at that point where if we went back to that, I don't know that that same group of individuals would be willing to jump back in and
And because we're so limited where we are, we don't have, you know, it's not like we're in where you have all these legal firms that you could solicit to the legal firms if they would do it. So we're kind of limited there. But so until the state says we're no longer funding it, we just continue to take what funding we get from the state. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, just one other thing before the action items, and that
When they
is,
stop coming in, we'll just make the change.
Yeah.
I had received an email from Jesse about the budget. I did just in the last, I don't know when it was, in the last few days, gave Kim a budget for 24, 25. So,
Yeah, I got that email this one. I didn't get a chance to reply to you yet, but yeah, I did get it.
okay,
Did it have the actual budget attached?
No, I was gonna just grab it from Cam, but I got a chance.
Then you'll just send.
It's in the system. It's in the BSNA system right now.
yeah, so in that, like I said, that total budget's down about 165,000, but it's broken down by line item. There are a couple new line items that will be in there, primarily due to some data collection, some different things we have to do for standard 6 and 7. But the total amount is decreased. But as you'll see in the action items, the public defender contract amount has increased, even though the total budget has decreased. And the request that I'm making on behalf of myself has increased. I don't know if you want to take them in the order that they're listed on the,
Well, let's just take the first action item.
Okay.
So I'd look for a motion to approve action item number 2 for the public defender's contract for 893, 947.92.
I'll make that one.
So motion by Commissioner Ludlow,
I'll second that.
support by Commissioner LaHaye. Any discussion on, or any further discussion on that? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Brave,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay, now action item number 3.
that is a request to, for the contract that I have with the county. It was 14,400 last year. It's proposed to increase to 18,000. The increase is twofold. One is that hourly amount went up slightly, but the second change is with the data collection and the surveys and things that that I'm going to have to do as part of the grant responsibilities. MIDC approved an additional 2 hours a month. So right now, it takes me about 10 hours a month to do everything. So it's anticipated it'll take me about 12 hours a month. So that $5 increase from 120 to 125, and then the 2 hour increase is what makes it go from 14,400 to 18,000.
Okay.
Okay.
On this one here, because the previous, well, I got a couple questions on this one.
Okay.
Your previous contract ended October 1st, or this would begin October 1st, so it was September 30th.
Correct.
Previous one ended. I guess my first question is, why late on this?
Yeah, what happened is MIDC was a little bit behind this year in terms of approving grants. And so our grant didn't get approved until recently. In fact, we have not actually received the contract from the county or from the MIDC yet. I anticipate it any day now. And so it's basically just timing in terms of when they approve themselves.
Okay. So then this increase to cover your portion would be covered as part of the grant?
Yes.
So we're not really,
Yeah, it doesn't affect the 164 in any way, shape or form. That's still the solid number for the county's share.
And so my last question is, because when I was looking at this and I was talking to Kim and I dug through my old contracts, didn't we pay 40,000 at one point?
You did?
And so now we're down to 18?
Yes, you got me at a bargain now. Yes, really the main reason it decreased from the 40 down to 12 when we got the public defender office going. Because some of those things that I was doing in terms of tracking those numbers and.
Okay,
reports and
they're
things,
doing it?
They're doing
Okay.
it now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I went back and I'm like, this used to be 40. So I started going through them. I was showing her and I'm like, how did this go from 40 to, the 14 or whatever? I'm like, I must have missed something because I have a couple years where I don't have anything in the folder or whatever, for whatever reason. So.
And I'll take 40 if you get them.
Well, I know because you were doing that with Mount Morency as well. Did you actually are you the MAC for?
I am the MAC in Alpena, Montmorency, Alcona, and Skoda currently.
Okay,
And the Skoda, they ran into a situation where their MAC over there had some health issues primarily related to dementia and had a steep decline in health. They couldn't find anybody to do it. They asked me if I would do it. I said I would do it on a temporary basis. Well, that's turned into,
permanent?
it looks like it until they can find somebody, but they have, not as bad as,
Might become the MAC for the Northeast Michigan.
yes. Not as bad as some places in terms of attracting attorneys, but Skoda County, other than the judge and prosecutor, they have no other licensed attorneys in the county. So they draw from Grayling, Gaylord, a few people from Roscommon. But there's been a real reluctance of anybody over there to get in and regularly take work that needs to be done. And so I'm doing it by default right now. I would prefer not to do it, and not because they have any problem with any of the folks in Oscoda County, but primarily just because when I have to go over there, it's, there's no good way to get there that doesn't take an hour or so. And it's just another duty that I have that, there's only so many hours in a day, so many hours in a week. So I'm hoping they're going to find somebody soon. But it doesn't look like there's anybody on the horizon anytime real soon. But yeah, I'm covering that county as well at this point.
Thought you lived for MIDC.
Well, I do enjoy it. I would say that, but it also, there's, like I said, there's only so many things you could do, so many hours in a week. So I enjoy having some time to do other things as well. I just,
Free time?
yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so you said that this increase is part of the grant, or will be covered by part of the grant, or not part of the grant, in the grant.
It is in the grant, and it's been approved by the state.
Okay, any other questions on this? So I'd look for a motion to approve this then.
I'll make a motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Bray for the MAC Administrator Agreement. I'll support by Commissioner Ludlow. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Lahey,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay. Now on to the 25 MIDC grant application.
Yeah, and this is the total grant that covers everything. Like I said, once again, it reduced from 1.321 million to 1.57 million, so it's about $165,000 less. It has been approved by the state. I anticipate that we will get the state contract any day now. Certainly, and when we get it, it has to get, obviously, it has to get signed by the county rep. I believe Jesse is the county rep now. So he will have the authority to sign it in e-grams, assuming that you guys give him the authority to sign it. So, and then we get our first payment upon signature, and then we get a quarterly payment every quarter thereafter, except in that third payment, they'll take out whatever we have left over for this year.
And because I know in the past, we did the carryover, so whatever's left over is then given to us as part of the following year's grant?
Yeah, so whatever we have left, I don't know if can pull up a number about what we have right now, but
No, I don't have that.
we should have about, I'm gonna say around 150 grand left.
Okay,
That's sitting there right now, but that'll get chunked out of one of these other payments.
okay. I'd look for a motion to approve, so the grant's already been submitted. So, and you said it's been approved by the state, correct?
Yes.
So I guess we're looking for a motion to approve this action item for the 25 MIDC grant application.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner LaHaye,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Bray. Any further discussion? If not, a roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow.
Yes.
Commissioner Bray.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay. Looks like we're good with you, IDC.
Thank you.
So, next on the agenda is Kim, and I don't see Kim.
She's on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I apologize, I couldn't, my camera's giving me a little grief, but I do have a couple of brief nuggets of information for it to share with you today. Couple of things that are good news. So I had shared with you previously about our dispatchers helping out down in Roscommon. Roscommon has notified our employees that will be coming to an end. They feel they're at a good place where they'll be able to stand on their own again. And so we're really excited that we were able to help not only a neighbor, but our backup center help them out during their time of short staffing. So it looks like our help has been productive for their situation. So that's good news. One other thing I want to share with you, so just a very brief background for our newer commissioners. This is year 3 of a 3-year contract that we did a sealed bid for. And I apply for ambulance millage funds into the 911 budget every year. And what we do is we offer a 50-50 match to the city and the township fire departments. Every year we get the state bid cost for the equipment, and then we will match up to, I divide it all out by 8 to begin with, and then we recirculate the funds as everybody spends, and if they have any left, we see if somebody else can use it. So today I have finalized our order for this year, and I'm pleased to let you know that we invested $25,000 from the ambulance fund, and we are helping the fire departments purchase 18 new radios, 3 new pagers, and 4 new handheld mics to go with those radios. And so our fire chiefs and their teams are very pleased to get the new equipment. And on a personal level, I feel it's a really good use of a little chunk of our ambulance fund money, because radios are very cost prohibitive for the departments to continually be replacing them. So I'll be placing that order as soon as I receive final verification from all the chiefs that their order's correct. That's all I have. If you have any questions for me.
No, I'm good. Any questions from anybody else?
I'm good.
We're all set. Thank you, Kim.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next item is the ambulance fund reports. Everyone got a chance to review those. Any questions, comments? If not, I'd look for a motion to receive and file.
I'll make that motion. Go ahead.
Motion by Commissioner Ludlow, second by Commissioner LaHaye. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Medical examiners reports, same thing. Looking for, everyone got a chance to review. Look for a motion to receive and file the medical examiners
Make the
report.
motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner LaHaye, second by
I'll second it.
Commissioner Bray. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, motion passed. Veterans Affairs reports.
I'll make the motion to even file that.
Okay, Motion to receive and file the Veterans Affairs Report,
second.
by Commissioner Ludlow. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Any other discussion? If not, I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Hay.
I'll second. Oh.
Support by Commissioner Bray. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion, or we're adjourned.